So, there was this really bad hot take going around Twitter and Tumblr a while ago, where a couple of racist ladies were shitting on Lilo and Stitch, specifically calling out the behavior of Lilo, who, if you haven't seen the movie, is a 6-year-old girl who has very recently been orphaned and is now under the care of her older sister. The racist ladies argue that the film was bad because Lilo displayed bratty behavior, acting out and making her sister's life difficult, and even suggested that the right course of action to deal with Lilo was emotional abandonment, because she's a 6-year-old who recently suffered immense trauma. The whole thing has a very, I wish it was socially acceptable to hit kids again vibe. But it did get me thinking about how I approach the young protagonist in these Goosebumps reviews. I am often pretty mean to them, and I've certainly failed in wording my frustration. Like, I called Gabe in my Curse of the Mummy's Tomb video a man-child, which is clearly not the right word to use. He's not a man-child, he's an actual child, and I regret using that term. Now, there are a few differences between the Goosebumps kids and Lilo. There's an age difference. The Goosebumps kids are usually twice Lilo's age and should be that much more mature. Shouldn't be expecting them to be adults, but there can be a wide gulf between 6 and 12. Goosebumps protagonists also typically aren't dealing with that level of trauma, or any trauma really, unless they're returning for a sequel. Nobody in the series is as well written and realized as Lilo, but maybe, just maybe, I should take pause. Remember, I'm talking about children, and maybe adjust my expectations accordingly. At least not get so upset about things. It was about 10 o'clock at night. We were out haunting the neighborhood. We did our terrifying wolf howl outside Gina Jeffers' window. Then we went next door to Terry Abel's house. We put some chicken bones in her mailbox. Just because it's creepy to reach into your mailbox and feel bones. Yeah, I hate these kids. No, I take that back. They're not kids. They're R.L. Stine's insulting parody of kids. If Lilo is butter, then Goosebumps kids are awful canola-based butter substitute that somebody pissed in. Our narrator this time around is Dwayne. He and his best friend Stephanie have taken the Stine thinks kids try to scare people all the time thing to an absurd degree. They call themselves the Twin Terrors of Wheeler Falls, and every chance they get, they sneak out in the middle of the night and go house to house, making creepy noises, throwing fake spiders through bedroom windows. Just some straight up terrorism. We spend a lot of time learning about Dwayne and Stephanie's backstory, which really just amounts to one Halloween, we scared some kids and we liked it, so now we do it all the time. As far as supervillain origin stories go, it's pretty lame. So one night, it's past 10 o'clock, and the Twin Terrors are doing their rounds, putting chicken bones in mailboxes, which is less scary and more of a health hazard, when Stephanie goes, "I'm bored. Let's up the ante and sneak around the local haunted house." Now you might be expecting just some abandoned old house, but Wheeler Falls has a proper tourist trap haunted house attraction in town. One that does tours at around 11 p.m. on a weekday. If it was like special Halloween hours, that'd be one thing, but I guess the past midnight haunted house tour market was pretty strong in the 90s. Oh, and the house has a name. It's called Hill House. Hill House. Stine, you can't do that! You can't just steal the name of a haunted house from another book. Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House isn't even in the public domain. What are you doing? Okay, guys, here's my new serial killer book. The killer's name is Jason Voorhees. You can't do that. Oh, it's a homage. No, it's not. You're just a hack. The format of this book is weird. Dwayne and Stephanie have taken the tour so many times they know the story of the house by heart. And Dwayne recounts it to us. 200 years ago, a sea captain builds a house for his wife, then goes out to sea, gets lost. His wife waits for a husband that'll never return. For months and months, she stared out her bedroom window, the window that faced the river, waiting patiently for the captain's return. Oh my God, you have a ghost story about a sea captain and his wife, and you set it in a landlocked city. She's supposed to be looking out at the ocean. That's how these stories work. Well, I don't live by the sea where my husband works, so I guess I'll stare at the nearest body of water and pretend it's the sea. Whatever. The sea captain returns as a ghost. The wife runs away, and the sea captain haunts the house for 100 years. Then a new family moves in, and they've got this bratty little kid named Andrew. And Andrew is walking around the house when he comes across the sea captain ghost. And then the ghost reaches over and just yanks the kid's head off. This was the last anyone saw of the sea captain ghost, and in his place, Andrew's ghost wanders the hall looking for his missing head. At least that's the story the tour guides tell, which they do, and that brings us to that formatting problem. The kids reach Hill House and meet up with the tour guide, Otto, a big bald fellow. The tour group is mostly teenagers out on dates, plus one other kid Dwayne and Stephanie's age, one with such an intense glare. And so Otto gives the tour and basically tells us the same story about the sea captain and Andrew a second time, less than 10 pages after Dwayne tells it. This is just not good narrative economy. It's so obvious that we should be hearing these stories just from Otto, allowing the actual storyteller character to tell the story with, well, I was going to say flourish, but this is Stein we're talking about. Just don't make me read the same story twice. Anyway, the twin terrors aren't really here to absorb the tour. They're looking to break away and explore the restricted area of the house, the place guests can't go. Stephanie's face seemed to glow. We'll sneak off on our own to search for the ghost's head. I stared back at her. You're kidding, right? No, Dwayne, I'm not kidding, she replied. We need a challenge. We need something new. Prowling around the neighborhood, terrifying everyone we know. That's just kid stuff. Boring. So they believe in ghosts? The only way this makes sense is if they buy into the Hill House ghost story 100%. What are these kids getting out of this? They've gotten their kicks out of scaring other people, and now they're trying to intentionally scare themselves? Is it about adrenaline highs? I'm sorry, I'm just not following the motivations of these characters. So the twin terrors break off from the group and start going through the house room by room, searching for the head. Oh no, what's that? It's a skull! I let out a groan when I realized I wasn't carrying a ghost's head. Stephanie groaned too when she saw what was in my hand. A bowling ball. I was carrying an old wooden bowling ball. The pale wood cracked and chipped. Yeah, a couple of Einsteins, these two. Eventually, the kids make their way to the roped-off top floor of the house. There's a room that's just full of cats. They don't say it, but you can imagine the cat piss smell. They pass through a hallway of cobwebs. Boring. Finally, more than 50 pages into this 113-page book, the twin terrors encounter something vaguely supernatural. They hear some voices behind a door, but when they open the door, the room is empty. Not exactly high-octane stuff, but I'll take it over Stein trying to scare me with a bowling ball. Eventually, Otto catches them wandering around. The kids try to lie their way out of it. Otto probably doesn't buy it, but he seems to like the kids and gives them a pass. Dwayne and Stephanie start to leave, but are stopped by that stern-looking boy from earlier. He identifies himself as Seth. He knows they snuck away to look for ghosts. Well, it just so happens he saw a ghost when he snuck into Hill House a few days ago. You really saw a ghost? I asked. Seth nodded, brushed his hair back again. I crept past Manny, the night watchman. He was sound asleep, snoring away. Wait, this year-round haunted house attraction can afford a dedicated night security guard? I'm starting to think Hill House is the cornerstone of the local economy. Anyway, Seth tells the Terror Twins, the Twin Terrors, Terror Twins rolls off the tongue so much better, that he snuck into Hill House and saw a ghost sliding down the banister, forcing him to run away. He invites Dwayne and Stephanie to join him in breaking into the house again, tomorrow night. This bothered me, and it took me a few minutes to realize why. One of the main ways a horror story, especially a horror book, can affect you is through empathic connection to the characters. If well written, you may find yourself feeling what they feel. Tap into their fears and anxieties and dreads as they navigate these scary moments. By splitting the plot of this book across 2 nights, Dwayne and Stephanie can step back, take some deep breaths, and zero out their adrenaline. Sure, the space between Dwayne and Stephanie leaving Hill House on night 1 and returning to Hill House on night 2 is like 3 pages, but in terms of horror character empathy, That first night, with mistaking things for skulls and walking through cobwebs and hearing ghost noises, may as well have never happened. There's no reason this couldn't have happened in just one night. Dwayne and Stephanie return to Hill House the next evening after it's closed, meeting Seth out back. They sneak in through the back door, light some candles, and start wandering around. They find a dumbwaiter, and Seth tells a story about a boy who climbed into it, and when his friends opened it up, all that was left of him was his eyes, heart, and teeth. Okay, that's pretty gruesome. It's not set up for anything, it's just a gory story about a dumbwaiter. And actually the best part of the book, but I'll come back to that. Anyway, Seth then corners the twin terrors in a room and reveals that he is actually Andrew, the headless ghost. Oh yeah, this head I have? I stole it from another kid, and now I'm going to steal your heads. He then proceeds to do nothing supernatural or creepy, but what are Goosebumps protagonists if not extremely gullible? So Dwayne and Stephanie fear for their lives. By pure luck, the wall they're pressed against moves, revealing a secret passage that the children run into. They reach a ladder, but when they try to climb it, the wall it's attached to crumbles, revealing a hidden away compartment. A secret room inside a secret room, and inside this second secret room is a child's head. This is the head belonging to the actual Andrew. Seth was just pulling a joke. The real Andrew ghost, a headless phantom, floats in, takes the head, and pieces out. We learn that Seth is actually Otto's nephew, and Otto lives in the house? Because he finds the three kids not soon after Andrew's ghost disappears. Does Otto own the place? I don't know. So Dwayne and Stephanie leave, and they got so spooked that they sworn off the neighborhood terrorism forever. A few months pass, and the two of them decide to go back to Hill House and take the tour for old time's sake. Otto happily gives them the tour, but as the kids are leaving, they run into the police. "What are you kids doing up there?" he called. "We just took the tour," I explained, pointing up to Hill House. "Tour? What tour?" the officer demanded gruffly. "You know, the haunted house tour," Stephanie replied impatiently. "There are no tours," the freckle-faced officer said, frowning. "There haven't been any tours in that house for months." Stephanie and I both uttered cries of surprise. "The house is empty," the police officer continued. "Shut down. There hasn't been anyone in there all winter. Hill House went out of business 3 months ago." "But if that's true, then why was Otto there?" "Oh no! Otto was a ghost!" "Okay, wait, when did Otto die?" "How did Otto die? Was he murdered?" You'd think that'd be in the news. "Local owner/tour guide of beloved haunted house attraction passes away. Town's economy is doomed." Dwayne and Stephanie live within walking distance of this place. It was their favorite hangout spot. You'd think they'd catch something